This experience happened when I was 17 years old. Although it's been 28 years, it feels like it happened yesterday to me. My cousin was a rugby player and I looked up to him from a very young age. I also wanted to be a professional athlete when I grew up. His house was not very far from mine and he had a very large lawn in his backyard and I would often go to play with him. It was a weekend and the weather was very nice. There were a few clouds in the sky and the day was perfect. I went to play rugby with my brother and some of his friends. We arrived at the training ground and I was very excited because I hadn't played with my brother for a long time. After about half an hour of playing, there was a strong wind blowing on the field. We didn't think it was a big problem, the wind would pass in a while. But after a while, the wind was still strong, so we decided to play a little longer and go home. At one point in the passing game, I got distracted. The rugby ball hit me on the temple and instantly I was on the ground. I left my body and I could see everyone standing around me. Cell phones weren't very common in those days, so they didn't have a way to call emergency services immediately. I saw my brother kneeling next to my body. I didn't feel any fear at the time. The next thing I knew, I entered a light. When I entered that light, I was greeted by a woman who was very beautiful. I later learned that this woman was my grandmother when she was young. She said to me, "I have been waiting for you." This was so strange, I thought to myself, why is she waiting for me? This lady knew what I was thinking before I could even say anything. "We're waiting for you because you're lost and I've come to help you find your way again." I was surprised. "How did you know what I was thinking?" I asked. She replied, "Because in heaven, there are no secrets. We know what each other is thinking." "Okay, so how do you plan to get me back on the right path? When you were created, you knew what kind of person you were going to be. Unfortunately, you've lost your way." At that time I did not know that she was my grandmother, whom I called my guide. She revealed that if the soul is lost, it will not find its way home. Near-death experiences are God's way of helping them. Some souls do choose to stay in heaven and give up their life on earth for a while. Some souls choose to return to earth to continue their lives and return to their families. She says, "The Father loves all His children and wants them all to accomplish what they promised. He does not criticize them or feel angry if they do not succeed the first time." You say I've lost my way. Then what do I need to do next? In order for you to find the right path, you have to talk to the Father. You mean I have to talk to God? Shouldn't He be busy? The wizard told me to follow her. She led me to a huge staircase where I couldn't see God, but I could hear His voice. He called out my name and then welcomed me by name. I am still amazed that God knows my name. I was told that I needed to see you so that I could get back on the right path. God asked me, "Do you remember what happened before us?" "Father, I forgot, I don't remember ever speaking to you." God put His finger on my forehead. I recalled what had happened before. I once wanted to be a rugby player, and I failed in the end. Then I talked to God and I wanted to become a pastor. For a non-believer, that was a little crazy. I gasped and said, "I know what I should do now. I'm ready to go back." God said, "I will give you one more chance. If you think this life is a failure now, you can stay, and you can try again later to live back on earth. If I stay, what will happen to my family? Your family will be here to reunite with you, but not until after they finish their mission. I like the feeling of being here. Love is everywhere. I can't see it, but I can feel it. I'm sorry, Father, I can't leave my family on earth. Then here's the deal, when you finish your mission, there will be a place for you in heaven. God says. Are you ready to go back? Wizard asked. Yes. Ma'am. I am ready. One more thing before you go, will you say hello to your mom for me and tell her I love her? How do you know my mom? I asked. Wizard didn't answer. Suddenly, I was back in my body. Surrounded by medical staff. What the hell is going on here? I asked the paramedics around me. It's okay, you're going to be okay. I didn't want to tell them I had talked to God. My mom kept crying. But after she saw that I was okay, she calmed down. The angel told me to say hello and that she loved you. The people around me looked at me with strange eyes. The paramedics took me to the hospital to check for a concussion and other brain damage. The tests all came back normal. When we got home, my mom asked me questions about the angel. She asked me to describe the angel in as much detail as possible. When I finished, she was very surprised. My mom got up and went into the storage room, and half an hour later, she pulled out a picture. Is this her? My mom asked me. Yes, it was her, right down to the exact same smile. Who is she? I asked. She's your grandmother, my mother said with a sob. I later found out that my grandmother had died 10 years before I was born. Later, I didn't become an athlete. I became a part-time pastor. My work was entirely pro bono, and I would often go to the hospital and open up to some of the patients and tell them about my own experiences. Let them face illness and death in a positive way. We were all there to fulfill our mission. I believe near-death experiences are a way to communicate with God and get us back on the right track. God is with you.